Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to For Collectors for Collectors. My name is Sammy Thunder. I am doing my first video for the channel, and originally had a guest planned for tonight, but unfortunately we had to reschedule. But fear not, this guest that I have will be a great guest to have for the future theme video that I have planned. But I didn't want to kind of just put the kibosh on this one. As you could tell from the description of this video, it's going to be my starting 5 and 6 man as well for the NBA players of the 80s. And I really took into consideration the 6 players I wanted to select. I think there's going to be some predictable names that I think a lot of you will recognize. But I think there might be some that maybe y'all are surprised about. I don't know, but we're going to see. Now, just a brief background into this story or this theme of this video tonight. The 80s was highlighted by teams like the Lakers, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Pistons. It was the 76ers. The Phoenix Suns were actually pretty decent at the time. The Utah Jazz were coming into their own. The Cleveland Cavaliers were actually pretty decent as well. So there's a lot of big names in the 80s that really kind of stand out. So what I did was I focused on every single position, tried to come up with the best player of the 80s in that particular position. And I found that there are some players that kind of switch their roles over the years, so you just have to bear with me a little bit. I tried to focus on where that player primarily played and what sort of style they played in. So you might find that you'll disagree with some of the position players that I chose. But we're going to start it out, and I'm going to try to knock out the obvious ones here. So we're going to start with the shooting guard. And even though this player didn't really become like the ultimate superstar and like the best player, arguably in the game in the 80s, because of other players kind of really dominating during that time frame, he had plenty of accolades in the 80s that really just kind of highlighted and showcased his amazing beyond the game style. And of course, that player is none other than Michael Jordan. And so what I have in front of you here is the Fleer 1988 Michael Jordan. And so obviously everybody knows about the 1986 Fleer and the 1987 Fleer. The 86 is obviously like the holy grail for basketball cards. For a lot of collectors that are collecting that Fleer set is remarkable. And it's amazing how inexpensive it once was, and now it's just it reaches elite status. And so what I find about this Michael Jordan card is that compared obviously to the 86 and the 87, this is remarkably inexpensive comparatively. Now this one I purchased at the time, I paid about $100 for this Michael Jordan card. This was probably about 3 years ago. And so it's a cool looking card. I like this one actually a lot more than the 87. Looks like it's showcasing Kevin Willis from the Atlanta Hawks as well. But I think it's fair to say, there's a lot of great shooting guards, number 2 guys. There was like Joe Dumars is a great shooting guard and known for his defensive prowess. Clyde Drexler, I believe, was classified as a shooting guard, but although I think might have been a point guard. I've never followed Clyde Drexler's career that closely, but based on everything that I looked up today and past couple days, I think Jordan kind of just holds the lantern, even in the 80s. I mean, the guy carried the Bulls, tried to beat the Celtics in 86, just couldn't get past. Pretty remarkable. And I think that was the year that I want to say it was 86 when the Bulls went 42-40 and somehow made the playoffs, even though Jordan was gone for most of it, then came back, and just I remember watching a number of those games, and it was truly remarkable. So he is my number 2 guy. I'm going to jump around a little bit. Now, I don't know if some of y'all will agree or disagree with my decision on this one. My center, my number 5 guy, doesn't get a lot of appreciation in the hobby. I mean, his rookie card is, I don't know, maybe $50, $60 in really nice condition. And that is none other than Mr. Moses Malone. This one I'm holding here is his Topps 1981-82 card with the Houston Rockets. Obviously known for his years with the 76ers during the early 80s, won 2 straight MVPs in a row. A fierce competitor, and just fits so well with that 76ers team with Julius Erving, Bobby Jones, and just a perfect fit for that role. And he was a relentless worker, and there's a great story of him kind of helping Barkley get into shape and being financially responsible. And so, again, this is a guy who just does not get a lot of appreciation in the hobby. I think he deserves a lot more credit. He is he's a Hall of Famer, don't get me wrong, but I love everything that there is about Moses Malone. I think he is an overshadowed player in the grand scheme of things, but I imagine in the core circles of the greats, there's nothing but praise for this man because he is just, again, a player's player, somebody who works hard at his craft and, had a nice long career and obviously Hall of Fame career and one of the greatest rebounders and great scorer too. So he's my number 5 guy. I chose him. We're going to go to some obvious ones here. We're going to skip around. Obviously, my point guard. Some people might say Stockton. Some people might say Isaiah Thomas. But obviously, it's got to be Mr. Showtime himself, the Magic, Magic Johnson, picked out here. I'll take it out of the team bag that I have. It's taking me a second to do it, but yeah, this is a great card of his, the 1981-82. It's one of my favorite sets in basketball. Great photo of him here driving to the lane, this second-year card. And, let's be real. Magic Johnson, in my mind, one of the top 3 greatest point guards in basketball history. There's just so many that can lay claim to that title, but I think Magic in the 80s was just so dominating. He's a guy that was very team oriented and unrelentless desire to win, and just his prowess on the court, his capability of just delivering for his team. There was that great game in 1980 where in the championship year, in his first year, Kareem went down and Magic took over playing center. And I want to say he had a triple-double that night, more rebounds and assists to kind of show again how he can take on any position if the night calls for it. And to be 6'8", 6'9", and play and have the ability and the agility of a point guard, it's a very special type of player. And moving on, my small forward, Magic Johnson needed a partner, not a partner, but a competitor to go up against. Who else better than Larry Legend? And those 80s years between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson is just nothing but a fairy tale story. And all started in college when Bird played for Indiana State, Magic Johnson for Michigan State in the NCAA Finals, which still holds the viewership record. And so this is Larry Bird's second-year card with the Celtics. And, it's just, you can't write a better story. Lakers and Celtics, their history, dating back to like Jerry West and Bill Russell and Elgin Baylor, Will Chamberlain. The list goes on. Um, John Havlicek, Dave Cowens. Uh, and then, 1980 comes along and Magic goes to the Lakers, Bird goes to the Celtics. Um, they face off in the NBA Finals. What is it? 3 times. It was 84, 85, and 87. And obviously, Magic got 2 out of the 3. Bird had three MVPs in a row, 84, 85, 86, which is a shared feat amongst him and 2 other players. I think it was Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain, if I'm not mistaken. And so Larry Legend, also great, 3-point shooter, great foul shooter. He is probably my favorite player to collect. So it should become to no surprise that he is the small forward in this selection. I identify him more as a small forward. I know he was a power forward early in his career, but his playing style is more like a small forward, someone who can go on, not be in the post and take, 15-foot shots or 3-point shots, kind of do everything. So the power forward position was a very, very difficult decision to make. And there's a lot of great names. And so I decided to go with 76er Charles Barkley, and that's his Fleer 1988 All-Star. I want to say this is not the sticker. No, not the sticker. This All-Star card. And the reason why I chose Charles Barkley is just how much of a powerhouse he was for the height that he was at. And obviously his career really blossomed in the 90s. Won the MVP, not a championship winner, but he became the number one guy. Really learned a lot as a 76er under the watchful eyes of like Mo Cheeks and Julius Erving and Moses Malone. Like I mentioned earlier, Moses Malone was kind of a mentor to him. And it really should come as no surprise that Barkley blossomed into the player that he did. Tireless work ethic, and had great years with the 76ers. Got traded went to the Suns, and just great career. Became the guy along with Kevin Johnson and Dan Marley and Danny Ainge as well. And he was like 6'5", 6'6", playing the role of a power forward. Just a big guy who could just push people out of the way, just control the game. And so again, it was a very tough choice between Barkley, Kevin McHale. James Worthy doesn't strike me as a power forward. He's more of a small forward type, just through his agility and movements. And I'm trying to think of other names. Dominique, I think, was more of a small forward player. So I think it would have been, it was really between Barkley and McHale. Those are the 2 guys. So those are my starting 5: is Bird, small forward, Barkley, power forward, Magic at the point, Moses Malone as my center, and Michael Jordan as my number 2. Pretty decent squad. Now, my 6-man is not a 6-man by any stretch of the imagination, but again, we're focusing only on the 80s here. So this man had just an established career. And please do not get me wrong, this guy, in the 70s, in the 80s, unbelievable force. And I'm talking none other than Mr. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the star 1984 card. Really, really great. Obviously, couldn't have gotten a better shot with the photograph with the sky hook. You got Jamal Wilkes in there, who I think is another Hall of Famer. And listen, the guy is Mr. Offense, Mr. Defense. If this was a conversation about the 70s, I'd probably put Kareem in the starting 5. Don't get me wrong, in the 80s, he was great too. Very difficult choice between him and Moses Malone as my center. I liked Malone a little bit more, and it's not because I'm a Celtics fan that I put Kareem out, because Kareem was a Laker and an established Laker, and obviously a big-time championship winner, and the biggest offensive threat. Between Magic feeding it to Kareem and just Kareem just hammering it home. But Kareem would be my in this case the sixth man, just because Moses and Kareem. I think Moses had the MVPs during the early '80s and a couple championships, and I felt like, and some might disagree with me here, I felt as though that Kareem had the better team. He had more weapons than Moses Malone did. Between James Worthy, Magic Johnson, you have like Jamal Wilkes, you have Kurt, why am I forgetting Kurt Rambis? Kurt Rambis, Byron Scott. I mean, there's a lot of big names during that time. Sven Nader, who's actually not bad. Sven Nader was actually a pretty decent player. But that's sort of another reason why I picked Moses Malone, because Moses Malone had a little bit more of an uphill battle compared to some of the. I think Kareem was able to not take a step back. It's not like he didn't work hard in his craft with the Lakers, but I felt as though he had the better team to play on than Moses did. So that's why I kind of picked Moses Malone as my pick for the center over Kareem. But again, if we're doing this for the 70s, Kareem would be my guy. But that's it for tonight. I just wanted to share my starting 5 and 6-man for just the 80s. And appreciate y'all watching along with me for my first video here on 4 collectors. And please subscribe if you are watching this for the first time. There's so much more content between John, Theo, myself, and Caesar Pepino Man. So please take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And again, thank you so much for watching. Definitely we'll be back, and we'll do some more themes of like starting 5 or best of this, best of that. So have a great night. And take care.